Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. Today, our guest, Senator Dan Duffy, and Jack Roeser, our founder, and myself, we are talking about small businesses leaving Illinois. How many small businesses left after that 67% tax increase?
Maybe
in the middle
Dan
of the
knows
night?
the thing.
Any
all I know
ideas?
is a lot, and some of them I personally knew. There's a business right down the street from mine that just totally bailed out of here. I recently was talking to a very successful big business that's moved its operations up to Wisconsin. I have a neighbor that had put a lot of money into trying to get good people elected here in Illinois, and he doesn't have to stay here and take their crap. He's rich, and he's moved to Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, there's a nice guy and with a lot of money. He's got options in life for his family, for his business, and if you got any brains and you're mobile, you may as well get away from the mistreatment.
But we don't want people leaving. We want people to stay, and we want good business people.
Right.
Instead, they raised the taxes on us 67%. How about that for an abuse? Are you going to go to the store where they raise the price of milk and bread 67%? No, they're going to be out of business.
Well, doesn't Obama
Illinois
say everybody
is
should
putting
be
itself out
doing
of
their
business.
fair share? And
Worse
Joe
than
Biden
that.
says it's patriotic to pay your fair share of taxes.
Yeah, baloney.
That Biden be patriotic.
Let them go pay somebody else's taxes too.
And I agree with being patriotic, but paying taxes and more taxes doesn't mean that
Well,
you're
the
more patriotic.
redistribution process. Now, last week we had Representative Tom Morrison, who was also a small businessman that decided to serve. I love what you said during the break. You're not a politician, you're a public servant. And really, that is what we need more of. How do we get more small business owners to step up and show up in the political arena? Where is the incentive for them to do that when the political process is so trying?
Right, and that's a great question, and that's something that I'm trying to do. You know, one of the things I said I was going to do when I ran for office, and what I've talked with Jack about, is recruiting more small business owners. And Jack's been doing a great job with that with his group.
I belong to the NFIB, National Federation Independent Business, and they're right 98% of the time.
Right.
And they do represent small business. And why are we in favor of that? It's because, you know, you're out on the firing line in a small business, and you don't have them. You haven't yet gotten rich, and so you have to look at the principles that are going to take something from being small to doing better.
Right.
And that is the American dream.
Right.
I've lived it, and a lot of people have done a little less than I have, and some have done a lot more. It's the American dream, and it's businessmen, small businessmen that aren't rich yet, that are very sensitive to the economic forces.
Right.
You know, isn't that Americanism, though? Wasn't our country founded by those same principles of a vision and stick-to-itiveness and hard work?
Of a dream. You know, my father growing up always taught us dare to dream. You know, you have to set up a plan, and you might want to tweak that plan and modify that plan as you move ahead, but you have to dare to dream and go for that dream, go for that American dream. But the state of Illinois is making it so difficult to go for that American dream, because every time you turn around, you're getting another tax, you're getting another fee, you're getting more regulation, you're handcuffing
There you hit
small
the worst
business
thing
owners.
of all. You know, when you start out, you aren't paying taxes, you aren't profitable yet.
Right.
But trying to get the thing going without a lot of muscle and money.
Right.
And the regulations are, you know, don't start a business here.
Right. I mean,
They're getting more prohibitive,
right.
too.
When you give out, like the state of Illinois did a 67% tax increase, and you say, well, that 67%, that's for personal taxes. You know, majority of the companies in Illinois are 80% of the companies are small business owners.
Subchapter S
and
corporations,
Subchapter
which
S,
drill
which
down.
brings that right to their personal tax sheet. So now they just got a 67% tax increase when they're trying to survive and get by in a recession, and now you're going to lay that huge tax increase on them. Now, they're either got a choice to stay here in Illinois, or if they're mobile and it's a service type company, to take their company over the border to another state.
Right.
So in a way, we're almost forcing companies out of this state. So more importantly, the most important thing we can do right now is to create a pro-business environment. You know, have a healthy environment, a low tax structure, less regulation, you know, less litigation, help companies create jobs here in the state of Illinois, you know, and do that by getting your hands out of their pocket and letting them run their own companies.
Any legislation right now in the Senate that's being proposed that will help create a healthy business and job environment here in Illinois? Is there anything that you are doing?
Everything that jumps to mind, you know, there's certain pieces of legislation, you know, that I'm proposing, some that haven't even got out of assignments to committee. Again, that's one of the problems. Obviously, the majority controls bills coming out of assignments and being assigned to a committee. It's up to them whether or not a bill that's been drafted can even move to committee. A lot of my pro-business bills haven't even made out of assignments to go to committee, so they're basically dead.
Are there any pro-business Democrats in the General Assembly?
There are, and again, you know, I get along with people on both sides of the aisle, and I think that, you know, 80% of the people down in Springfield really do want to do the right thing, but there's some leadership in place that won't allow them to do the right thing. But I think just fundamentally I have some differences of opinion with some people on the other side of the aisle on how you go about creating a pro-business environment. Saying that we're going to tax 67% increase, but yet I'm going to pass some pro-job bills is, you know, that's very...
It's contradictory.
That's contradictory, and that won't work.
Well, the truth is, even prior to the 67% tax increase, Illinois was bleeding jobs, and people were following the jobs. We've lost a significant portion of our population before the 67% tax increase.
Right.
All that did was exponentially increase the exodus. And I can promise you, next year, Illinois will be receiving less revenue than they did before the 67% tax increase.
Right. Well, when taxpayers leave and bail and go to a more friendly environment, you lose your tax base of your state.
Of course. I mean, that happens every time. You know, if you lower the taxes, you're going to have more people come to the state of Illinois. You're going to create more jobs, and you're going to make more money because you're going to have more companies. When you raise the taxes, you're going to have less people, so you're taking from a smaller pot. Because
Isn't that
more people are going to leave the
Reaganomics?
state of Illinois.
Both Presidents Kennedy and Reagan and Bush is both. All three of both.
Right.
All of them reduced taxes and increased the taxes to the government thereby. At a lower rate, it brought more tax income to the spenders.
But Jack, it's funny you mentioned Kennedy. Kennedy was a Democrat. Kennedy was not a Republican, and that policy was a good policy. It worked. It worked.
And it worked for Reagan, and it worked for Bush. This high spending, high debt guy we've got as president now.
Well,
He's
and
a
now
distributor in chief.
That's not the way to run things. He's run us into debt.
He never ran a business. He does not understand. He's always been a bureaucrat. He's been a law professor.
He hasn't even been a bureaucrat, and he hasn't been a professor. He's been a lecturer.
But Jack, where did he learn all this from? All of his training was done in the Illinois legislature, down in Springfield with Mike Madigan.
But there
I mean, he's got some of the same problems and policies that we have on the state. We now are having those same problems on a federal level.
Created on a federal level.
He's doing the same
when he
type
was
of
a senator, he wasn't like you. You get up and vote on the things you care about. That guy set a record for passing a vote on things. He'd vote present. So he never even got involved in the grinding around.
He was just passing by
politics.
He
was just
clearly
passing
failed
by.
leadership.
And the way he got elected was to get 4 people off the ballot by questioning their applications. So he didn't really have to run to get into the Senate. Talk about a freeloader. His name is Obama.
Well, he was Saul Alinsky protege, that's for sure. It all came out of that area, of course, here in Illinois. Such great legacy we have. You know, we also have Ronald Reagan, though, and Abraham Lincoln from Illinois.
What a comparison.
Well, the problem now is we've got this perfect storm. Chicago used to be the industrial capital of the world during the Depression. If you can't get a job in Chicago, you can't get a job anywhere. The Democrats have sucked the businesses dry. There's no jobs there anymore. They left. Now they're doing the same thing in Springfield to the jobs statewide, to the small businesses. businesses statewide. Chicago used to look at Illinois to bail them out. Illinois used to look at Washington to bail them out. The problem is they're all broke.
We're all broke.
And now we're looking at higher property taxes. There's going to be more people leaving, and when they leave,
Food stamps.
the people that stay, they're the ones
Don't
that are going
worry
to have to
about
pick that
it.
up.
The government will take care of you.
Don't
Who
want
needs
no
a
government
job?
to
The
take care
government
of
will
me.
take
I
care
think
of
that's
you.
the whole goal.
Well, that is the truth. Their Cloward-Piven strategy. Senator Duffy, you know, Michael was talking about higher property taxes, and that is something that could actually come upon all of us tax-paying citizens. How do we? After we come back after the break, I want to talk about this pensions and how they're going to be putting things back to the local communities. Let's get back to that after the break.